8 members, 8 different stories, 8 different bonds with the women who raised them. But who among stray kids carries the deepest, most visible connection to their mother? In an industry that pulls teenagers away from their families, ships them into dormitories, and fills their schedules until sleep becomes a luxury, the relationship between an idol and their parent gets tested in ways most people never have to face. Some members left home at 13. Some moved to entirely different countries. Some had mothers who fought against the idea of their sons entering the entertainment industry at all. And yet, through years of trainee life, survival shows, debut pressure, and world tours, certain bonds didn't just survive, they became part of the identity these artists carry on stage and off. The evidence is scattered across V-Lives, fan meetings, interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, and the members' own lyrics. So when you line it all up, the public moments, the private admissions, the sacrifices made on both sides, which Stray Kids member sits closest to his mother's heart in a way that even the fans can see? The answer might not be who you expect. Number 8. Love Without Words, Lee Know. In a group where members regularly cry on camera about missing their families, openly dedicate songs to their parents, and share childhood stories during live streams, Lee Min-ho stands apart, not because the bond with his mother is weak, but because he guards it like something too precious to put on display. Lee Know is an only child, born on October 25, 1998, in Gimpo, Gyeonggi Province, South Korea, and from the very beginning of his public career, he drew a clear line between what the world gets to see and what stays within his family's walls. You can watch hundreds of hours of Stray Kids content, variety shows, behind-the-scenes footage, V-Lives, fan meetings, and you will find almost no moment where Lee Know sits down and talks about his mother at length. That is not an accident. That is a deliberate choice made by someone who understands that some things don't need an audience to be real. But here is what makes his story worth telling. The evidence of that bond leaks out anyway, in ways he probably doesn't even notice. Before Lee Know was ever a JYP trainee, before he was ever part of Stray Kids, he was a professional backup dancer. He started dancing in middle school, joined a crew called Cupcakes, competed at the World of Dance competition in 2016, and eventually landed one of the most coveted backup gigs in the industry, performing behind BTS for tracks like Fire, Spring Day, and Not Today, and traveling with them on the 2017 Wings tour in Japan. For most young dancers, that would have been the ceiling, a stable career behind one of the biggest acts in music history. But watching BTS perform night after night did something to Lee Know. It shifted his ambition from standing behind someone else's spotlight to building his own. He had actually auditioned for JYP Entertainment back in 2015, heard nothing, and assumed he had been rejected. 2 full years passed. He continued dancing professionally, let the dream settle into the background, and then JYP suddenly contacted him in 2017 after digging through old audition footage. They wanted him. Now, pivoting from a working dancer to an idol trainee is not a lateral move. It means giving up income, moving into a dormitory, submitting to a completely different lifestyle with zero guarantee of debut. Somewhere behind that decision, there was a family in Gimpo, a mother and father whose only son was about to trade stability for a gamble. Lee Know has never publicly detailed how his parents reacted to that pivot. He has never told an interviewer what his mother said when he announced he was leaving a paying job to start from scratch as a trainee. That conversation, whatever shape it took, remains his. What happened next tested whatever support system existed behind the scenes. Lee Know joined the Stray Kids survival show with minimal preparation. He had been a JYP trainee for only a few months, while other contestants had trained for years. Despite impressing viewers by mastering 40 base choreography routines in just 2 weeks, he was eliminated in episode 4, cut from the lineup, sent home. For an only child whose parents had watched him take this risk, that elimination carried a weight the cameras never captured. The show documented the reactions of the other trainees, the tears, the shock, the frustration, but what happened in the Lee household in Gimpo stayed off-screen. 5 episodes later, Lee No was reinstated alongside Felix, and the group moved forward. But those weeks between elimination and return represent a gap in the story that Lee No has chosen not to fill. And that restraint in an industry built on emotional transparency reveals the kind of son he is, one who protects his family from public consumption. So how do you trace a mother-son bond when the son refuses to narrate it? You look at the things he cannot hide. Fans have noted that Lee No is said to resemble his mother in appearance. He has mentioned learning certain habits from his parents, the way he neatly folds and bundles his clothes, small domestic rituals that most people absorb from the person who raised them without even realizing it. And then there is cooking. Lee No is widely regarded as the best cook in Stray Kids. He prepares elaborate meals for his members without being asked. Stews, pasta, desserts, a full beef Wellington for Felix's birthday. He appeared on EBS's The Best Cooking Secrets as a guest, led the group as head chef on their variety series Mysterious Kitchen, and impressed professional judges alongside Hyunjin on Crazy Recipe Adventure. The members themselves describe him as someone who shows love through actions rather than words, and the way he feeds the people around him carries the unmistakable rhythm of someone who grew up in a home where care came through the kitchen. Lee No has not publicly credited his mother for teaching him specific recipes. His culinary abilities appear to be largely self-developed, but the instinct to nurture others through food does not emerge from a vacuum. That impulse has a source, and it lives in Gimpo. Then there are the cats, perhaps the most revealing thread of all. Lee No has 3 rescue cats. Suni, adopted in 2011 after he spotted the cat during a volunteer trip. Doongi, who joined around 2013 from a friend whose cat had a litter. And Dory, the youngest, adopted from an animal rescue website in early 2019. He calls them his children, knows their individual personalities inside out, Suni the affectionate one, Doongi the mischievous one, Dory the calm and regal one. Here is the detail that matters most. All 3 cats live with his parents at their home in Gimpo. His mother and father are the ones who feed, care for, and share their house with Suni, Doongi, and Dory every single day while Lee No is on tour, recording in the studio, or living at the dormitory. This is the most concrete, publicly visible bridge between Lee No's world and his parents' private life. He trusts his mother and father with the living beings he loves most outside his group. His commitment to that kind of care extends further. He has donated to cat protection organizations like Nabia Saranghae to support abandoned animals, the sort of quiet generosity rooted in values that are not taught in a JYP training room. Lee No will probably never deliver a tearful V-Live about his mother. He will probably never write a public letter to her or dedicate a stage to her in front of 20,000 people. That is not who he is. But the way he folds his clothes like she taught him, the way he feeds his members before himself, the way he entrusts his 3 cats to the same home that raised him, all of it maps back to a bond that does not require a microphone to exist. He keeps it private not because it is small, but because, for Lee No, the things that matter most are the things you shield from noise. And if the member who shares the least about his mother still belongs on this list, wait until you hear about the one whose bond with home started before he even took his first breath, carried in a dream his mother had while he was still in the womb. Number 7. A different kind of pitch. Seungmin. Before Kim Seungmin ever stood behind a microphone, he stood on a pitcher's mound. His grandfather had been a baseball pitcher during his high school years in South Korea, and that legacy traveled through the family like a quiet inheritance, not through money or contracts, but through the way a boy grows up watching someone he admires and decides he wants to walk the same road. Seungmin became a right-handed pitcher himself, serious enough about the sport that as a young kid, he threw a ceremonial first pitch at a professional SK Wyverns game, a moment captured in a photograph that still circulates among fans today. Baseball was not a passing interest for him, it was the plan. The future was supposed to be a diamond, a uniform, and a fastball that carried his grandfather's memory forward. Then the plan broke. Seungmin's family went through a period of significant financial hardship, and combined with his own injuries, the baseball dream became something he could no longer afford to chase, both literally and physically. This is one of the rare moments where Seungmin has publicly addressed his family's circumstances, speaking briefly in an Exports News interview, and even then he kept the details sparse. He did not shape it into a sympathy story. He simply acknowledged that the difficulty redirected him, and he pivoted toward music. That pivot is where everything changed, but here is what matters for this list. A teenage boy had to release a dream that connected him to his grandfather's legacy because his family was struggling, and instead of folding under the weight of that, he found another way forward. The discipline he built on the baseball field did not vanish, it just changed form. As early as 4th grade, Seungmin had participated in singing competitions and joined a choir, so the raw material was already there. He spent 4 months living in Los Angeles during elementary school, picking up English skills that would later serve him well in a global group. But the real catalyst came from an unexpected source, his high school classmate at Cheongdam High School, Lee Dae-hui, who would later debut with Wanawan and AB6. Dae-hui was already a JYP Entertainment trainee, and he recognized something in Seungmin that Seungmin may not have fully seen in himself yet. He told his friend to audition. Seungmin listened. In February 2017, he placed second in JYP Entertainment's 13th open audition, performing a cover of Kim Dong-ryul's old song, a deliberate choice because he wanted to present his authentic self rather than perform as someone he was not. He officially joined JYP the following month, entering the trainee pipeline that would lead to the Stray Kids survival show later that year. On that show, Seungmin was never eliminated. He made it through every evaluation, recognized for his stable vocal ability and his quiet, supportive presence within the group dynamic. But the show still cracked him open emotionally. When Lee No was eliminated in episode 4, Seungmin's reaction was among the most visibly devastated of all the trainees, a moment fans still reference as proof of how deeply he feels for the people around him, even when he rarely puts it into words. And that is exactly the pattern with Seungmin and family. He feels it all, he just does not perform it. Seungmin keeps his mother and his home life behind a boundary that the public almost never crosses. He has an older sister, his father reportedly works in the legal field, but beyond these surface details, the interior of his household stays private. He does not do tearful V-lives about missing his parents. He does not dedicate concert stages to his mother in front of 20,000 people. His ISFJ personality, introverted, observant, feeling, judging, maps onto someone who processes emotion internally and expresses care through consistency and reliability rather than grand declarations. The members describe him as someone with a genuine heart who shows love through playful teasing and through simply showing up, being the steady presence everyone can lean on, without him ever announcing it. He bridges the older and younger members of the group, offering guidance in both directions, a role that demands the kind of emotional intelligence usually developed early in a household, not in a company training room. But if Seungmin's words about his mother are scarce, his actions sketch the outline his words refuse to draw. On March 18, 2024, he stepped onto the field at Goshek Skydome in Seoul for the MLB World Tour Seoul Series exhibition game between Team Korea and the Los Angeles Dodgers. He had been invited to throw the ceremonial first pitch. This was not a casual promotional appearance. This was the boy who had to walk away from baseball because his family's finances and his own body would not let him stay. Now standing on a professional mound, surrounded by cameras, thousands of fans, and major league players, including Dodgers pitcher Joe Kelly. Seungmin wound up and threw a precise strike directly into the catcher's mitt. Stray Kids released a behind-the-scenes vlog documenting his preparation, his visible nerves, and the pitch itself. For anyone who understands the full arc, the grandfather who pitched in high school, the grandson who wanted to follow, the financial hardship that closed that door, and the years of building an entirely different career that eventually circled back to the exact same spot, that throw was not just a throw. It was a debt repaid to a family legacy that never stopped living inside him. And somewhere, whether in the stands or through a screen, a family in Seoul understood every layer of what that single strike meant in ways no commentator could narrate. Then there is the detail that locks everything into place. On September 22, 2025, his 25th birthday, Seungmin donated 100 million Korean won, roughly $72,000 to Child Fund Korea. He did not send it to a general fund. He earmarked it specifically for young caregivers, children and minors who carry the responsibility of looking after family members with disabilities or chronic illnesses. His statement read, "I hope that children who, at such a young age, must shoulder the burdens of adulthood for the sake of their families, can set those weights aside even for just a moment. I hope my support could lighten their load if only a little, and give them the strength to dream of a brighter future." This wasn't even his first time. The year before, on his 2024 birthday, he donated the same amount to support youths aging out of institutional care. Read that again carefully. A young man who once had to surrender his own childhood dream because of family circumstances chose, when he finally had the means, to direct his resources toward other young people carrying family burdens they never asked for. Nobody coached him to specify young caregivers in a PR strategy session. That precision comes from somewhere personal. It comes from knowing what it feels like when family responsibility settles on shoulders that aren't quite ready for the weight. Seungmin will not tell you about his mother in an interview. He will not cry about her on a live stream. But the discipline inherited from a grandfather's legacy, the quiet emotional depth visible only in unguarded moments, and the specific, deliberate choice to fund children who sacrifice for their families, all of it traces back to a home that shaped him in ways he keeps shielded from the spotlight. And if Seungmin protects his family's story behind silence and carefully chosen actions, the next member on this list struck a very different kind of arrangement with his parents, one that came with a hard deadline, a plane ticket back to Malaysia, and exactly 12 months to prove that chasing music across borders was not the worst decision of his life. Number 6. 12 months or nothing, Han. Han Ji-sung did not leave home once. He left it twice. The first time, he had no say in it. Born in Incheon, South Korea, on September 14, 2000, Ji-sung spent his early childhood in motion, first moving to Mokpo as a small child, then crossing an international border when his family relocated to Malaysia around 2008 or 2009, when he was roughly 8 or 9 years old. The move was driven by his father's professional obligations, which took the family through places like Japan before settling in the Malaysian state of Selangor, where Ji-sung lived across several towns including Subang, Cheras, and Ampang Jaya. He attended Fairview International School before transitioning to homeschooling, and it was during that transition that something quietly fractured. Being homeschooled in a foreign country, pulled away from traditional school environments and the social scaffolding that comes with them, Ji-sung grew increasingly isolated. He has spoken about this period openly: the loneliness, the lack of social experience, the persistent sense that he did not quite belong anywhere. He was a Korean kid in Malaysia, separated from his roots, educated inside his own home, navigating adolescence without the usual anchors of a stable peer group. Years later, he would channel every layer of that displacement into his solo track, Alien, a song built entirely around the sensation of being a stranger on your own planet, drawn directly from the lived experience of a teenager who spent 6 years feeling exactly that. The second time Jisung left home, the choice was entirely his. Around 2015, at 15 or 16 years old, he told his parents he wanted to return to South Korea, alone, to pursue music, not as a vague ambition, as a career. His parents did not slam the door shut, but they did not leave it wide open either. They constructed a deal. Jisung would go back to Korea, take the Korean high school qualification exam to protect his academic future, and give himself exactly 1 year to get accepted into an entertainment agency. If he made it, he could stay. If the year ran out with nothing to show for it, he would board a flight back to Malaysia and resume his studies. 12 months. That was the entire margin his parents allowed between their son's dream and a return ticket. What makes this deal worth examining is what it reveals about the family itself. These were not parents who crushed their child's ambition out of fear. They were also not parents who released him into the unknown without a safety net. They built a structure, a framework of accountability that communicated something specific. We believe enough to let you try, but we love you enough to pull you back if reality does not cooperate. That kind of parenting requires a precise calibration of trust and protectiveness, and the fact that Han has retold this story publicly, without bitterness or resentment, suggests he understood, even at 15, that the deadline was never a punishment. It was a guardrail designed by people who were terrified of watching their youngest son fail alone in another country, but brave enough to let him take the risk anyway. Jisung enrolled at DEF Academy in Seoul, throwing himself into intensive classes in rap, dance, and vocals, compressing what should have been years of preparation into months. Then the audition itself took a turn that sounds almost invented, but is, by his own retelling, exactly what happened. He went to a JYP Entertainment audition with a friend, not to perform, but to see if they could spot any celebrities around the building. That was the actual plan. Somehow, despite showing up as a spectator, Jisung ended up in the audition room. He performed, he passed. JYP accepted him as a trainee, and in a single afternoon, the 12-month clock his parents had set stopped ticking. The deal was fulfilled. He was staying in Korea. The boy who had been uprooted to Malaysia at 8, who had spent 6 years feeling like a stranger in his own daily life, who flew back to Seoul alone at 15 with a hard deadline governing every decision he made, that boy now had a trainee contract with one of the biggest entertainment companies in the industry. His parents, watching from across the South China Sea, had their answer. Their youngest son was not coming home. What followed was 3 years of trainee life, the Stray Kids survival show, which Han survived without ever being eliminated, and official debut on March 25, 2018. From there, Han became 1/3 of 3 Racha alongside Bonchan and Changbin, the production unit that writes and produces the majority of Stray Kids' discography. By February 2023, at just 22 years old, he became a full member of the Korea Music Copyright Association, the youngest K-pop idol to reach full Comcom membership at that time, alongside his 2 3 Racha partners. As of 2026, he holds 196 registered songwriting and production credits, a catalog spanning not just Stray Kids, but contributions to artists like Neezy U, JO1, and Lisa, and placements in films including Deadpool and Wolverine. Every single one of those credits traces its origin to a teenager who almost did not audition, who walked into that building just to see a celebrity, and whose entire career balanced on a 12-month window his parents carved out of equal parts love and caution. Han does not discuss his mother in detail publicly. He maintains a firm boundary between his professional life and his family's privacy, rarely offering more than broad gratitude during letter-writing segments on programs like Star Road or in year-end reflections. But that boundary has cracked on occasion. Fan-captured footage from around 2021 shows Han at a fan signing event where his mother was present in the audience. What fans immediately noticed was a complete shift in his energy. Jisung, who is normally one of the most hyper, chaotically confident presences in any room, became visibly shy. The performance persona dissolved. The artist who commands arenas holding tens of thousands of people turned into a son suddenly aware that his mother was watching from a few meters away. That reaction, from commanding idol to self-conscious child, is not something you rehearse for a camera. It operates on a frequency that only exists between a kid and the parent whose approval still outweighs every concert crowd he has ever faced. In December 2019, JYP Entertainment released an official statement revealing that Jisung had been experiencing intermittent psychological anxiety, particularly triggered by proximity to large crowds. He stepped back temporarily to rest and recover. Behind the clinical language of that announcement was a young man who had spent most of his formative years either isolated in a foreign country or grinding through the relentless pressure of trainee life and early fame. He wrote about not belonging in Alien. He wrote about concealed pain in Secret Secret. He wrote about the exhausting loop of anxiety in Another Day. The music was always where the unguarded truth lived, even when interviews stayed careful. And underneath all of it, beneath the accidental audition, the survival show, the 200 songs, the anxiety that surfaced when the world pressed too close, there was a family who let their youngest son fly 12 time zones away because he asked them to, and who attached a deadline to that permission, not to cage him, but to make sure he knew they would still be standing there if the dream collapsed. Han does not narrate his mother into his public story, but every single chapter of that story began because she agreed to let him write it. And if Han's connection to his mother lives in the quiet space between a deadline and a leap of faith, the next member on this list keeps his bond alive through something far smaller and far more consistent, a habit so routine you could overlook it, performed every single morning before his feet even touched the floor.
Number 5. The Morning Message, I.N. The transition from a quiet childhood on the southern coast of South Korea to the intense, highly structured environment of a major K-pop agency is a path that tests the emotional resilience of any teenager, and for young Hyunjin, known to the world by his stage name I.N, that journey began in Sahaguri, Busan, where he was born on February 8, 2001. Growing up as the middle child in a family of 3 boys, positioned between an older brother and a younger brother born in 2005, Hyunjin navigated a household where the noisy, chaotic energy of brotherhood was balanced by a deep, traditional family structure. When he was only 7 years old, his bright, dimpled smile and expressive eyes caught the attention of scouts, leading his mother to enroll him in child modeling. She accompanied him to auditions and photography shoots, guiding his first steps into the entertainment world and establishing an early foundation of shared ambition between mother and son. It was during this childhood period that his father played a common Korean prank on him, telling the young boy that he had actually been found abandoned under a local bridge and was not their biological child. While most children quickly realize this is a light-hearted joke, the young Hyunjin took the claim as absolute truth, crying bitterly before packing a small backpack with his favorite things and heading toward the front door to search for his real parents. A dramatic escape attempt that ended with his mother comforting him and explaining the joke. This childhood innocence soon evolved into a genuine passion for singing, specifically trot music, a historic genre of Korean popular music known for its emotional sincerity, vocal trills, and appeal to older generations. Hyunjin would sing trot at family gatherings, local senior centers, and community events in Busan, encouraged by his grandmothers and his mother, who recognized that he possessed a natural vocal tone that brought comfort to those listening. As his interest in performing grew, he set his sights on becoming an idol, eventually prompting him to audition for JYP Entertainment. When JYP accepted him as a trainee, the reality of his career path required a massive personal sacrifice. At a young age, he had to leave his school, Busan Seo Middle School, pack his bags, and move entirely alone to the JYP dormitories in Seoul, separating himself from his mother's daily care and the support of his brothers. The physical distance between Busan and Seoul is about 320 kilometers, easily traveled via the KTX high-speed train in under 3 hours. But the emotional distance for a young trainee navigating the high-stress evaluation system of a major agency felt immense. During this pre-debut period, Hyunjin had to manage his own laundry, schoolwork, and dietary needs while practicing for up to 12 hours a day, a sudden independence that forced him to mature faster than his peers. When he joined the Stray Kids survival show in 2017 at just 16 years old, he faced severe criticism from JY Park regarding his vocal pitch stability and the physical limitations placed on his singing by his dental braces. While other trainees wept under the intense pressure of potential elimination, Hyunjin became known for his persistent, bright smile on camera, a coping mechanism he later admitted was a conscious effort to prevent his mother and family watching from Busan from worrying about his mental state, and to avoid bringing down the morale of his fellow members. He spent his nights practicing alone in the dark JYP studios, biting down on his braces to adjust his articulation, determined to secure his place in the final group. Following their successful debut on March 25, 2018, Hyunjin had to balance the intense promotional schedules of a rookie group with his high school education, transferring to the School of Performing Arts Seoul, SOPA, from which he officially graduated on February 5, 2020. Throughout this rise to fame, Hyunjin maintained a grounded personality that the members of Stray Kids constantly praise, a trait they attribute to the steady influence of his family. In group interviews and behind-the-scenes reality content, the members revealed that Hyunjin has a strict, unyielding morning routine, the moment his eyes open, before he checks his schedules, reads fan messages, or looks at social media, he checks his phone to read and reply to messages from his mother. In the fast-paced, often isolating world of a global idol, where daily routines are dictated by managers and stage times, this simple morning ritual acts as an emotional anchor that keeps him connected to his roots in Busan. His mother's texts, asking if he has eaten his meals, reminding him to dress warmly for the cold Seoul winters, and sending quiet words of encouragement, provide a private space of normal, maternal care that exists completely outside his public persona. In July 2020, his childhood connection to trot music returned to the forefront when he auditioned for the MBC variety show Favorite Entertainment, where legendary trot singer Jang Yoon-young selected him to join a 5-member project trot group called Super 5 alongside Astro's MJ and Pentagon's Hui. Balancing the rehearsals, recording sessions, and music show performances for Super 5's tracks Gimme Gimme and All Eyes on Me with his existing Stray Kids commitments placed a massive physical burden on him. Yet he pursued the project with dedication because of how much the genre meant to his family and his own musical journey. His parents have remained active supporters of his career, frequently traveling from Busan to attend Stray Kids domestic concerts and fan meetings, where fans have documented his mother sitting in the crowd, holding his personalized cheering slogan and watching him with visible pride. During performances, Hyunjin's eyes can be seen scanning the arenas, looking for his family in the stands, and when he makes eye contact with his mother, his stage charisma instantly gives way to the familiar, dimpled smile of the boy who used to sing for his grandmothers. Although he is notoriously private about showing tears, preferring to be a source of strength for his members and fans, his deep connection to his family is written into these small, daily habits of communication and his dedication to keeping his Busan roots alive. He remains a son who begins every single day by reading a message from his mother, showing that no matter how large the concert venues become, he is still tethered to the family home on the southern coast. And while I.N maintains this quiet, consistent daily bridge to his home in South Korea, the next member on our list had to maintain his family connection across an entire ocean, relying on a completely different set of emotional anchors to bridge the distance between Seoul and Sydney. Number 4, The Tears of Seven Hills, Felix. For an adolescent growing up in the quiet Sydney suburb of Seven Hills, New South Wales, the path to becoming a global icon was separated by more than just a language barrier. It was separated by a vast geographical chasm of over 8,000 kilometers. Felix, born Lee Young-bok on September 15, 2000, was raised in Australia by Korean immigrant parents who sought to build a stable life for their children. He grew up as the middle child, positioned between an older sister named Rachel and a younger sister named Olivia, attending St. Patrick's Marist College in Dundas. The dual identity of being a second-generation Korean Australian shaped his early years, but it also led to a unique family dispute before he was even born. During an appearance on the popular Korean variety show You Quiz on the Block, Felix shared a light-hearted yet revealing family anecdote about the origins of his Korean name. His grandfather had strongly insisted that the boy be named Young-bok, a highly traditional, somewhat old-fashioned name combining the characters for dragon and fortune. His mother, however, was so deeply disappointed by this choice, fearing that her son would be teased for having such an outdated name, that she reportedly cried for approximately 6 months before finally relenting to the grandfather's wishes. Despite the name dispute, Felix's childhood was characterized by a warm, supportive household, where he developed interests in swimming, taekwondo, and music. In 2016, a JYP Entertainment casting agent spotted him at a shopping mall in Australia, inviting him to audition. At just 16 years old, Felix made the monumental decision to leave his school, his friends, and his family to move to South Korea to become a trainee. This move plunged him into immediate isolation. He could not speak Korean fluently, he was unfamiliar with the strict social hierarchies of the trainee system, and he was completely cut off from the daily physical support of his mother and sisters. His inability to speak his mother's native language added a layer of cultural dislocation, as he had to navigate a high-pressure environment while learning a complex new tongue from scratch. The challenges of this transition peaked during the 2017 Stray Kids survival show. In episode 8, J.Y. Park eliminated Felix from the lineup, citing his lack of Korean language proficiency as a critical barrier to communication and performance. The moment of his elimination remains one of the most raw, emotionally devastating sequences in modern K-pop history, marked by Bang Chan holding a weeping Felix and whispering in English, "Always find me, okay? I'm not gonna leave you." This failure, broadcast to a global audience, carried an immense weight for Felix's mother back in Sydney, who had watched her teenage son travel across the ocean only to face public rejection. However, the outcry from fans and the determination of the group led to J.Y. Park reinstating Felix in the final episode, securing his place in the group's official debut on March 25, 2018. Despite the victory of debut, the emotional strain of long-distance separation from his mother remained a recurring theme in Felix's life. In April 2019, Stray Kids traveled to Australia for their Unveil tour, I Am concert series, performing at the Big Top Sydney. Standing on a stage in his hometown, surrounded by local fans and with his family sitting in the audience, Felix broke down in tears. Speaking in English, he addressed his mother directly, expressing the deep guilt he felt for leaving her behind to chase his dreams and thanking her for her unconditional support throughout his lonely trainee years. He expressed how difficult it had been to adjust to Korea without her by his side, his voice cracking as he apologized for the worry he had caused her. This public vulnerability became a defining characteristic of Felix's relationship with his family. He has never hesitated to show his emotions, crying openly at subsequent concerts when discussing how much he misses his mother's presence. In his personal vlogs, Felix frequently documents his return trips to Australia, capturing the quiet moments of home life, such as cooking Western-style meals for his family, sharing laughter with his sisters, and relaxing in the backyard of the Seven Hills home. These vlogs show a complete contrast to his stage persona. The deep-voiced performer becomes a sweet, gentle son who enjoys helping his mother in the kitchen and shopping for groceries together. His mother has also traveled to South Korea to support him during major milestones, including the Dominate World Tour, where she was spotted in the crowd cheering for her son. During these visits, she has toured the JYP Entertainment headquarters, dining at the company's famous organic cafeteria and meeting the other members of Stray Kids, who treat her with the utmost respect. This maternal support has clearly influenced Felix's own character. He is widely recognized within the K-pop industry for his deep empathy and extensive charity work. In early 2024, Felix donated 100 million Korean won to the Korean Committee for UNICEF to assist children in Laos who were suffering from poor sanitation and nutrition, making him the youngest member of the UNICEF Honors Club in history. Rather than using his rare vacation days to rest, he traveled to Laos to volunteer on the ground, working directly with children in schools and community centers. He has frequently mentioned that his parents taught him the importance of sharing and helping those in need, a lesson he has taken to heart as his global platform has expanded. His desire to protect and nurture others, whether through direct donations or by acting as a comforting presence for his fellow group members, is a direct reflection of the values cultivated in his childhood home. The boy whose mother cried over his traditional Korean name has grown into a global ambassador who carries that name, Young Bok, with immense pride on the world stage, using it as a direct link to his grandfather's legacy and his family's immigrant history. Felix's bond with his mother is defined by these public displays of gratitude, the tears shed on hometown stages, and the physical distance they have spent years overcoming. And while Felix's emotional journey is written in the tears of a son who crossed oceans to find his stage, the next member on our list proved that a mother's influence can become a viral sensation, transforming a simple domestic joke into one of the most recognizable memes in the entire fandom. Number 3. The Pride of Hyunjin, Changbin. For many young artists entering the highly competitive world of K-pop, the biggest hurdle is not the grueling training hours or the public scrutiny, but the initial battle to convince their own parents that music is a viable path. For Seo Changbin, born on August 11, 1999, in Yongin, Gyeonggi Province, South Korea, this struggle was a defining chapter of his youth. Raised in a comfortable household as the younger child with an older sister, Changbin was a bright student. His parents, recognizing his academic potential, initially hoped he would focus on his studies, graduate from a prestigious university, and pursue a conventional, stable career path. When he first expressed his desire to become a rapper and idol, his parents were skeptical, viewing it as a passing teenage phase rather than a serious life choice. However, Changbin's determination did not waver. He continued to practice, write lyrics, and audition. The turning point came when he was accepted into JYP Entertainment as a trainee in 2016. Seeing their son's hard work recognized by a major entertainment agency transformed his parents' skepticism into complete, enthusiastic support. His mother, in particular, was overjoyed, celebrating his acceptance and becoming one of his most vocal supporters as he transitioned into the trainee life. This shift from academic expectation to creative freedom allowed Changbin to develop a strong sense of self, which would later become a core aspect of his public persona. He was one of the founding members of 3 Racha, the pre-debut production unit of Stray Kids, working alongside Bang Chan and Han to write the songs that would define the group's musical identity. Throughout the 2017 survival show, Changbin's powerful rap style and confident stage presence made him an indispensable member of the lineup, leading to his official debut on March 25, 2018. As the group's career took off, fans began to notice that Changbin's confidence was not just a stage persona, but a fundamental trait rooted in his upbringing. He frequently credits his mother and father for teaching him the importance of having jetdi, a Korean term referring to one's personal principles, backbone, and individual convictions. In a society that often encourages conformity, Changbin's insistence on maintaining his own style and beliefs became a source of inspiration for fans, and he openly attributes this strong philosophical foundation to the constant reassurance he received from his mother during his formative years. This concept of jetdi became so central to his identity that it eventually led to a major solo endorsement deal with Samsung Galaxy in South Korea, where he starred in commercials built entirely around his personal philosophy of staying true to oneself. This commercial success directly linked his mother's early advice to a significant milestone in his professional career. This warm, stable family dynamic was put on full display in an official Stray Kids holiday vlog. In the video, Changbin traveled to a winter resort with his family, capturing candid moments of recreation. The vlog showed him hiking with his mother, walking across a frozen lake, and even dancing playfully with her in the snow. Unlike the typical formal boundaries seen in many family interactions, Changbin's relationship with his mother was visibly affectionate, marked by easy laughter, physical proximity, and a mutual comfort that can only be built over years of open communication. During this vacation, he also helped prepare meals with his mother, showcasing a domestic side that fans rarely see on stage. This natural closeness is further reflected in his daily habits. Like his fellow member IDN, Changbin has shared in interviews that he makes a point of checking his phone for messages from his mother every single morning. This simple routine ensures that despite the chaotic nature of his global schedule, he begins each day with a reminder of home. In 2023, this maternal connection unexpectedly became a viral internet sensation. During an episode of the behind-the-scenes series SKZ Talker, episode 56, Changbin was filmed playfully adapting the lyrics of Hyunjin's hit song OMG. Instead of singing the original words, he sang in a high-pitched, humorous tone, "Who gave birth to Changbin so pretty? My mom, my mom." The clip quickly spread across social media platforms, transforming into a massive meme within the K-pop fandom. Other idols and fans began referencing the line, cementing it as one of the most recognizable inside jokes in the Stray Kids community. What made the moment resonate so deeply was how naturally it fit Changbin's personality. He was completely unabashed in his affection for his mother, turning a simple domestic joke into a public celebration of his family. Beyond the memes, Changbin's parents have remained a constant presence in his professional life, attending concerts and music show recordings to cheer him on. His mother has been seen in the audience of various Stray Kids shows, watching her son command the stage with the same pride she felt when he first passed his JYP audition. Changbin often speaks of his parents as his primary role models, noting that their stable marriage and loving household provided him with the security needed to take risks in his career. This grounding has allowed him to navigate the pressures of fame without losing his sense of reality, a balance that is highly valued within the group. He remains a son who openly celebrates his mother's role in his life, whether through quiet morning messages, family vlogs, or viral comedic moments on camera. His story is a testament to how parental support can transform a risky dream into a successful reality, leaving a son with the confidence to stand on any stage in the world and declare exactly who he is. And while Changbin's maternal bond is defined by this public warmth and shared humor, the next member on our list has a connection that is described in almost artistic terms, a relationship where a mother's influence is seen not just in daily habits, but in the very aesthetic and physical grace her son projects to the world. Number 2, The Mirror of Grace, Hyunjin. For an only child, the relationship with parents is not diluted by sibling dynamics. Instead, it becomes a concentrated stream of influence, expectations, and support. Hwang Hyunjin, born on March 20, 2000, in Seongni-dong, Seoul, South Korea, grew up in this exact environment. As the sole focus of his family's attention, Hyunjin's early years were spent in close proximity to his parents, particularly his mother, whose influence would go on to shape his artistic sensibilities and his approach to his career. This maternal guidance was present even during a brief period of his childhood when the family relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada. While living in the United States, where he attended kindergarten and went by the English name Sam, Hyunjin relied heavily on his mother to navigate the cultural and linguistic shift. Her constant presence provided a sense of stability that allowed him to adapt quickly before the family eventually returned to South Korea. The very beginning of his journey into JYP Entertainment was a shared family moment. While shopping with his mother on the street, a JYP casting agent approached the teenager. Initially skeptical, thinking the offer was a scam, Hyunjin hesitated, but it was his mother's presence and encouragement that led them to verify the card and take the audition seriously. He entered JYP in 2015 with zero background in dance or formal performance, a lack of preparation that initially drew criticism from peers and instructors who dismissed him as a trainee who would only survive on his visual appearance. Driven by a desire to prove his critics wrong, Hyunjin committed himself to dance, practicing late into the night until he transformed himself into one of the main dancers of Stray Kids. Throughout this grueling transition, his mother remained his primary emotional anchor, providing a safe haven away from the high-pressure training rooms of the agency. When he returned home exhausted and bruised from dance practice, she was there to support him, reinforcing the belief that his worth was defined by his effort rather than his natural talent. Following his official debut with Stray Kids on March 25, 2018, Hyunjin's public career took off, but he never lost his deep connection to his family. In February 2019, he graduated from the School of Performing Arts Seoul, a milestone his mother attended with pride, watching him balance his education with his new career. In February 2025, Hyunjin appeared as a guest on the popular beauty creator Risabe's YouTube channel, a broadcast where he spoke candidly about his personal life. During the interview, he spoke about his mother with profound affection, declaring her to be the prettiest person he has ever seen. This public statement, delivered with absolute sincerity rather than typical media coaching, highlighted how much he respects her. During the same show, he shared an endearing childhood detail, explaining how his mother had carefully and systematically shaped the back of his head when he was an infant, a traditional practice where parents gently massage a baby's head to ensure a round, symmetrical shape. Hyunjin joked that his distinct head shape, which stylists often praise, was the direct result of his mother's meticulous care during his first months of life. His mother's emotional investment in his career was highlighted again in late 2025. When Hyunjin won his first major solo trophy for a special project, his success reportedly moved his mother to tears of pride, a milestone he shared with fans as a moment of deep personal validation. His parents have also been a frequent presence at Stray Kids concerts. Fans have often captured Hyunjin during live performances scanning the crowd, his face lighting up with excitement when he spots his mother and father in the VIP section. Unlike the guarded distance maintained by some public figures, Hyunjin actively points his parents out to the audience, waving to them and sharing his professional success directly with the people who raised him. This maternal influence extends into his artistic pursuits. Hyunjin is widely known for his passion for painting and drawing, hobbies he picked up as a form of self-expression and therapy during challenging periods of his career. His appreciation for aesthetics, color, and design is something he connects back to his mother, who nurtured his creative instincts from a young age. When he finishes a new canvas, he often shares it with his family first, seeking her feedback before displaying it to the public. This sensitivity was also shaped by the loss of his first childhood dog, Komi, a difficult experience that his mother helped him navigate. The emotional depth he developed during his youth is a direct result of these shared family moments of grief and healing. This artistic sensitivity also paved the way for his entry into the fashion world. In 2023, Hyunjin was appointed as a global brand ambassador for the luxury fashion house Versace, attending high-profile events in Milan and starring in international campaigns. His natural poise, elegance, and fashion sense, which have been praised by designers like Donatella Versace, are qualities he traces back to his mother's influence, who taught him to appreciate style and carry himself with confidence. During their visits to the JYP Entertainment Building, his mother has dined with him at the company's famous organic cafeteria, a facility JY Park established to ensure trainees and artists eat healthy meals. Sharing a meal in the very building where he once struggled to find his footing serves as a physical reminder of how far they have traveled together as a family. Furthermore, the family pet, a long-haired chihuahua named Kami, represents another daily link between Hyunjin and his parents. Kami lives at his parents' house, and his mother is the primary caregiver for the dog while Hyunjin is away on global tours. Hyunjin frequently visits home to spend time with Kami, sharing photos and updates with fans, showcasing the simple, warm domestic routine that connects him to his mother's household. His public interactions and the way he speaks about beauty, fashion, and art carry the unmistakable imprint of a child raised by a mother who valued visual and emotional expression. He remains a son who openly celebrates his mother's beauty and care on global platforms, showing that his rise to international fame has only deepened the concentrated bond they formed during his childhood in Seoul. And while Hyunjin's relationship with his mother is defined by this shared aesthetic appreciation and public warmth, the final member on our list carries a bond that is woven into the very fabric of his origin story, a relationship that did not just support his career, but actively initiated it, leaving behind a musical legacy written in the stars. Number 1. The Architect of the Dream, Bang Chan. When compiling the stories of young men who transitioned from trainees to global superstars, one relationship stands at the absolute core of the narrative, not just as a source of emotional support, but as the literal catalyst that set the entire journey in motion. Christopher Bang, known to the world as Bang Chan, was born in Seoul, South Korea, on October 3, 1997, before his family relocated to Sydney, Australia, during his early childhood. Growing up in a musical household as the oldest sibling of a younger sister named Hannah and a younger brother named Lucas, Bang Chan's childhood was filled with sports, music, and performance. But the defining moment of his life occurred on an ordinary school day in Australia in late 2010. Bang Chan was not planning to audition for a music agency. It was his mother who unexpectedly picked him up from school and announced that JYP Entertainment was holding open auditions in the area. She encouraged him to try out, believing in his musical potential even before he had formulated the ambition himself. Bang Chan performed, impressed the casting directors, and passed the audition. At just 13 years old, he had to make a choice that would permanently alter his life. He moved alone to South Korea in 2011 to enter the JYP trainee system, leaving his family, his school, and the comfortable life in Sydney behind. For 7 long years, from 2011 to 2017, Bang Chan trained in Seoul, a period of isolation that tested his mental endurance to its limits. During these years, he watched close friends and fellow trainees debut in groups like GOT7, Day 6, and Twice, while he remained in the training system, his own debut constantly delayed. The physical and emotional distance from his mother was a constant source of struggle, as he had to navigate the pressures of adolescence and the highly competitive industry without a parent nearby to comfort him. During this long stretch of time, his mother would send him packages from Australia filled with comfort items, local snacks, and handwritten letters, which became his primary physical connection to his family. This hidden emotional strain was revealed during the 2017 Stray Kids survival show. In a highly emotional segment of the program, Bang Chan received a letter written by his mother. In the letter, she expressed the deep pain of sending her 13-year-old son across the ocean alone, detailing how she had kept his room in Sydney exactly as he had left it, holding on to the hope of his return while praying daily for his success and well-being. Reading her words on camera, the normally composed leader broke down in tears, revealing the immense emotional debt he felt he owed to his parents. Following his successful debut as the leader of Stray Kids on March 25, 2018, Bang Chan's relationship with his family remained a prominent element of his public identity. For years, he hosted a weekly live broadcast called Chan's Room, which ran for over 200 episodes. On this platform, he frequently spoke about his family with deep affection and vulnerability, sharing stories about his mother's advice, playing songs she recommended, and openly discussing how much he missed his family in Australia. He would sometimes talk about his mother's cooking, referencing Australian barbecues and specific dishes she prepared during his childhood, using these memories to feel closer to home. If the time zone permitted, he would occasionally call his mother during the broadcast, allowing fans to hear their comfortable, supportive conversations. This long-distance bond was highlighted again in April 2019 during the group's hometown concert at the Big Top Sydney. Standing before a crowd of thousands of fans, with his mother and father watching from the audience, Bang Chan delivered a tearful speech, expressing his gratitude for their sacrifices and apologizing for the years of separation. His mother's influence was also felt in his creative work. On July 5, 2025, Stray Kids released an SKZ record titled Goodbye, a track written and composed by Bang Chan and performed by Seungmin. The song is a deeply personal reflection on the sacrifices young idols make when leaving their families, with lyrics directly addressing the pain of leaving home at 13. Bang Chan chose to have Seungmin perform the track because he felt Seungmin's clear, emotive vocal tone could convey the raw vulnerability of the lyrics in a way that allowed Bang Chan to hear his own story reflected back to him. The emotional peak of the song occurs in the outro, with lyrics that read, "Dear Mom and Dad, I'm sorry. I tried / to stay the same but to my demise / the things around me have broken me up but still / I'll always love you." Although performed by Seungmin, the words were Bang Chan's personal letter to his parents, capturing the lingering guilt and deep love of a son who spent his entire adolescence away from home. This creative drive and emotional openness also run through the rest of his family. His younger sister Hannah has also become a popular content creator and musician, reflecting the artistic environment their mother cultivated in the household. Over the years, his mother has traveled from Australia to support him at major events, including global tour stops and award ceremonies. Fans have documented her presence in the VIP sections, cheering for her son as he leads the group he built. Bang Chan has frequently stated that his mother's initial decision to take him to that audition in 2010 is the reason he exists as an artist today, and he credits her with instilling in him the leadership qualities, empathy, and responsibility required to guide Stray Kids. While he carries the weight of leading a global group, managing production schedules, and protecting his members, his relationship with his mother remains his ultimate emotional anchor. He is the member who has spoken most openly about the pain of separation and the depth of maternal love, proving that his journey as the leader of Stray Kids began not in a JYP practice room, but in a car in Sydney, driven by a mother who saw the future before he did. This unwavering support is what makes him the member closest to his mother, a bond forged in sacrifice and celebrated on stages around the world.